In this video lesson, we're going to finish up our look at the change velocity options available in Pro Tools. Let's listen to our sound source here. And we've got a bass guitar virtual instrument pedaling away on some eighth notes. This is Expand 2, which is the stock sample playback instrument that comes with Pro Tools. Okay, let's go ahead and expose the velocity lane and see what we've got here. And you can see that I've got a fair bit of variation within that track, almost as if a real bass player was playing it. So a real bass player, of course, when they're pedaling away on those notes, they're not playing evenly from note to note. There's going to be some variation. And what we're going to do is we're going to see what Pro Tools can do to humanize our MIDI bass tracks, or at least using bass here as an example. Let me go to Event Operations and go to Change Velocity. And we're going to experiment with the limit and randomize options here. So let's go ahead and look at two really opposite examples here. Here's example 1, where all the MIDI velocities are set to 127. This would be a good example of something you may have played in and you had a wide range of velocities, and you said, I'm just going to set them all to 127 to make them equally as loud. And you come back maybe a day or two later to your session, and of course you can't undo that because you saved and quit the session. So you're going to we can take advantage of the change velocity randomize feature to rehumanize the track. So I'll go ahead here and I'll just, even though the notes are selected, I'll go to Notes View, select those there, and I'm going to select the randomize option. And I'm not going to select the limit option. I'm just going to use the set all to. So you set them all to 127, and I can use any range within here, but I'll just leave them set all to 127. But let's add some variation in there. And I'm going to add a range of, let's say, 15. So I'm going to randomize that. So when they're set to all 127, it'll return numbers between 127 and 117, which will return a range of 127 to 110. Let's go ahead and there we go. And so we've got some nice variation there with the track, just enough to liven it up, all right? So that would be one thing you can do, is just experiment with a set all to, and then randomize that, and then you can, of course, increase the overall velocity just by adding one or two to that. So you can add, or you say, oh, let's make them all a little bit softer, so you can maybe subtract 5 or 10 from each, or make them all louder, add 5 or 10 to each. There's so many ways you can go about working on the velocities on your track to really humanize it. Let's go take a look at the complete opposite example. And here you can see this is a track that has a wide range of velocities that was played in. And this would be a great example of something you might play in when you're playing from your MIDI keyboard and you're just trying to get the right note, and you're not worried about dynamic articulation or playing even from note to note. And you look at the velocities on the track, or you listen to it, and you've got something that sounds like. Where you've got some that are almost, the note almost drops out volume-wise. So if this was going to be in the mix with the drum kit, some of those bass notes would literally get lost in the mix. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a multi-step operation here and see if we can kind of even these out. Okay, so here let's use the limit factor. Let's take, I'm just going to use the limit 2, okay? And I'm not going to set all 2. I'll just add 1, because when we use limit 2, we can use any of these top 3 options. And you can see set all 2 is grays out the limit. So when I select add, I'm going to add 1 to all, but I'm going to limit to a range of, let's say, what's kind of in the middle here? 92, and what's our top one there? 115, 122. Let's say a range of 71 to 103. Okay, limit to a range of 71. Well, let's select our data first. 71. Oops, drop the mouse there. 103. And let's apply that. Limit 2, there we go. And you can see that it's brought up all the outliers and brought down some of the outliers as well. So we've essentially done some MIDI compression with the track. In other words, squashing the peaks, squashing the loud notes, and then through gain makeup, bringing up all the softer notes as well. So there's a number of ways we can do this. Now we can squash it even further if we want to kind of preserve some of the original duration. Let's undo that, Command Z. Limit to a range, a minimum of, let's say, 90, a maximum of 103. Let's see what happens there. It kind of squashes the, oh, that's really not too bad. And now we can undo the limit, and we can randomize that by, let's say, an additional 10. And now we can add 10 to that to bring up the entire track. Deselect randomize, deselect limit. Okay, and there we go, kind of in a multi-step process. And if I really like that and I want to bring them all up, I just select all the notes, and I can just grab any velocity stick and bring the whole track up. And if there are some outliers, and I often do this, I'll just grab the outliers in the track and just bring those up manually. So again, change velocity, a great way to humanize your track. All kinds of possibilities available with limit and randomize. Hope you have fun using it.